Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Battle Brothers Season 3. As today, of course, we open things up back in Westerhalls. Not too far from where we left off last time around, just over the river and through the woods, whilst we prepared for what comes next. Because, yeah, whilst the latest poll has essentially all but guaranteed that we're in this for at least one more cycle, I do feel like we need something big to round out our first cycle with a bang. And what better way to do it than by tackling our first real legendary location? I mean, sure, we also did the abandoned village, but I feel like that barely counts. That was more of like an intermediary location. Kind of the icy cave to the Ijirok. So with that in mind, based on what we learned in our first encounter with the mysterious Fault Finders, I've laid out our squad as best I can, you know, to try to adapt to their grabby, tentacular tactics. Heavy on melee, light on range, all in on reinforced nets, and packing a pocket shield on arrow, just in case. Just in case. I mean, he's got enough range that he can generally keep his distance, but you never know. Especially if we start surrounded. Not sure this will actually be enough, but, you know, we've got to at least try. And I guess worst case scenario, we've got the reserves to fall back on. If we get wiped. Oh. Drakiith the Flagellant is found sitting cross-legged before a campfire. He's all alone save the mill moths fluttering dangerously close to the flames. Sensing your presence, he calls you over. You take a seat beside him and he smiles at you. I've become a better man since joining this company. You nod as he surely has. He continues. I've bled for the gods a great deal, but my wounds, they are but scars now. I feel stronger than ever. Again you nod, but then quickly ask if he's going to stop hurting himself. The man's eyes stare into the red, brimming embers. He shakes his head, no. I will bleed for the gods until they say no more. Wondering aloud, you ask if the gods have spoken to him at all. Without a pause, the man shakes his head no again. They have not, and so I shall bleed until their silence is broken, or until I join them in the forever quiet. Oh. Well, I mean, hey, I guess we've all got our own ways of keeping ourselves motivated. Some of us just buckle down and keep at it. Others turn into vampires. You know, life. I'll take the +4 health. Just really wish it didn't sound like you were raising a death flag. All right, Raiders, to those who are about to die, etc., etc. The estate towers over the area with pure-cut stoneworks and colored roofing tiles. It has something most royalty cannot afford, which is a sense of taste. With grass trimmed low, the lawn seemed almost like a footprint onto an unkept land. Statues of people dot the landscape, capturing poses both regaling and regretful. Amidst the crowd of sculptures are hedges, cut into the shapes of animals and fountains with clear water in them. The company stands outside a black fence, idling and staring through the bars like farm animals. Mark Giemza shakes his head and spits. Yeah, it's all quite pretty and all, but no deep-pocket Fark is just gonna leave the front gate open like this for no reason, you know? I think either somebody's already ran through the place, or something awful is inside. And it don't mind the occasional innocent passerby. You agree. When looking further in, you can see the path leads to a bowled-out decline, as if the gods had knuckled a bit of earth itself with overhangs and escarpments encircling the area. If you're going to explore such a place, you know in your heart that you might not make it back. You could still leave now, and return later. But no, you quickly quash that thought and order the raiders forward. The company moves into the moon like escarpment on your command. Suddenly, a man wearing a tall, black helm swings himself around a statue. He wields an unusual staff, a trail of green mist wafting behind its glassy top. Welcome! Have you come to understand my work? It is in the warmth of mothering that one finds the primal instincts, the flashes of intellect which all creatures, from the feeblest worms to the most soaring birds, understand, and without which man shall never have supremacy over all things. I, a man, am mother now. I, a man, have broken the order, and on this instinct native to all creatures I shall rise, wombless, ascending above the architecture of nature herself, and become nurturer to all. I, the grand diviner, the one who shall moisten this dry earth with manifestations. Monologuing madmen wielding strange staffs rarely have good intentions. You draw your sword, and seeing your blade, the grand diviner goes quiet. He nods and swings his arms wide, a flash of green sparking from his staff. Creatures like those you've seen before. Gelatinous, bulbous assemblages of vague appendages all start shuffling out from behind the statues. More yet encircle the entire company, occupying spaces on high, saddling themselves onto the lip of the escarpment like visitors in a coliseum, ever ready to watch a good fight. The Grand Diviner grins and points his staff at you. Smile, sellsword, for when you die I shall mother you back into this world, and you shall find nurture in the bosom of my power. No thank you. I don't like the sound of that. I'd really prefer to have nothing to do with your bosom if at all possible. But I will stab you. Alright, let's see what we've got. And, oh my goodness. Okay, well, right off the bat. Alright, just observers. I mean, I don't trust that at all. I do notice it's also taken the place of our retreat zone, so this is all or nothing. We're either victorious or we die. Also, we've got these things. Flesh cradles. Marked as actual entities? So between those and the onlookers, I feel like it's pretty obvious we've got some sort of respawn mechanic. Plus, of course, these guys, the greater flesh golems, no real surprise there. 4 fault finders. And the Grand Diviner himself. With Nimble and Diviner's Fury, a unique Grand Diviner ability. So kind of a wild card there. Also, that is not a staff, that is a two-handed flail. Though that is a great get if we can actually pry it away from him. Alright, well, looking at the battlefield here, I notice we've got the bodyguards clustered a bit more on the north. 3 graders and 4 standards. Obviously, we want to take out the fault finders as quickly as possible, so I'm thinking our best bet might be to immediately slant southeast. Get the shieldmen on blocking duty. Stop or at least slow the graders. Give some of our other guys time to scoot by and start finding fault. Though, of course, plans may change depending on how tough these guys end up being, the graders. The raiders shuffled uneasily, finding their escape cut off. Then, heads down, jaws set. The raiders finally lurched into motion. Diego taking lead. Head ducked low behind his ornate shield. Revenant right behind, gesturing the rest of the raiders forward. King's Rook framed the formation on south. Oh, and the Grand Diviner marched straight towards them. Interesting. I really would have taken him for a backliner, but then again, the two-handed flail might imply otherwise. Though the two-handed flail is also a huge problem for our shieldmen, since of course it'll, theoretically, go right over the shields. One by one, the monolithic mutants spurred to motion, one hefting up a fetid form, a wadded-up corpse, then hurling it into Verlin's shield. A largely ineffectual projectile, but certainly one that would leave an impression. Shield Mastery cuts damage in half, so that would imply 34, which honestly isn't bad. As the rest of the raiders rallied into a ragged line, the first of several weighted nets let fly, cascading over a gelatinous golem. Even as Arrow warily kept his distance, he hopped up onto a perch, firing off a quick probing shot. But alas, it went wide. Trip slipped in, hucking his own net over another approaching abomination. Oh! Right. Okay. And with a sudden gurgling pop, the crumpled up corpse, already forgotten underfoot, bubbled and burst like a bile-filled bomb. Verlin winced, but quickly shrugged it off, breathing deeply into his beak-shaped mask, his lungs at least partially protected from the pestilent vapors. Not thrilled to know they basically throw bombs, but it is good to know. All the more reason to engage them, I suppose. Discourage those range attacks. Adrenaline on the Ancient Priest. Okay, let's be very careful here. Assuming standard great weapon rules, he should only be able to move one space and swing. But we don't know what other tricks he might have up his sleeve. Oh, wow. Okay, so it's not just a great weapon, it's a pole flail? No thank you. We'll just let someone else worry about that. That actually works out pretty nicely for us for the moment. Keeps him out of the way while we continue pushing the fault finders. Hopefully our main center line can beat down the golems relatively quickly. Oh, wow. The Diviner's still a pretty tough target, even netted. Alright, Ver, go ahead and lock this one down. Yeah, that's fine. Oof, yeah, these guys are bricks, but pretty lightly armored, so I mean, there's that at least. Giant monsters made of meat are where Drak shines. Assuming, of course, he survives the initial contact. We haven't actually seen what these guys can do, aside from hucking corpses at us. Rook led a small contingent of raiders around on the south, even as the rest of the raiders dogpiled onto the monstrous... Ooh. Okay, well, dogpiling seems to have immediately worked against us. Apparently they can just do full 360 swings. Though, thankfully, honestly, not that bad. Took a few hits there, but I don't think any of it really got through armor. And we are whittling this guy down pretty quick. Honestly, the main thing I'm dreading is the inevitable reinforcements. I mean, that's gotta be what the crowd's for. Or these flesh baskets. God. Another burbling blast as a bloated corpse boils and bursts underfoot. A great fleshy phalange plucks Trip up, dragging the man across the battlefield, sending him careening into the many-armed grip of another monstrous beast. Almost got that first one down. I'm just wary of what might happen once it drops. Oh, for goodness sake, guys. All you had to do was tap it. Okay, so maybe more than just a tap. But assailed and flailed with ceaseless fury, the first of the mighty beasts finally falls, its gelatinous form split asunder by a myriad of blows. Drakiith immediately takes off at a full sprint. The Grand Diviner tears his way free from the reinforced net. Even as Trip fights for his life, slashing at a massive brute on north. The rest of the raiders reluctantly turn a blind eye, their own sights set on the casters and back. Trip should be able to hold for a time. Though at least a few raiders should probably rally to his aid. Zarmal curses, suddenly breaking off course, darting in and jabbing towards the Grand Diviner's ribs. Another corpse bursts underfoot, throwing Diego and Rax off balance. Rax rushes forward, fury finally getting the better of him. His eyes locked on those pesky prestidigitators in back. Drak darts in from the side, but no sooner makes contact than he's grabbed by a massive fleshy pseudopod and dragged backward. Random and Rook rush in as well, seeking to overwhelm the sorcerer on south. Diego engages on north. Annie circles wide, once again entangling the irate arcanist. Wait, what hit Rax? Greater Flesh Golem. Not to be deterred, Drak pushes back in, slashing across a Fault Finder's face. Zarmal keeps the Grand Diviner off balance. Oh, shit. I should not have moved next to the meat wagon, but I guess we'll see what happens there. Random lunges forward, but whiffs his swing. Arrow continues laying down fire. Grand Diviner's actually wearing down pretty quick. Random and Rev both get yanked back. And he gets drawn in. Crap, right. They're using the tongue lash attack, basically a whip. Rev just got disarmed. Oh, okay. Annie just got hammered. Rev impales another Fault Finder. And with one last swing, the first Fault Finder falls. Drakiith spitting on the body as it tumbles headless to the ground. Though he quickly pays for the spiteful gesture. Sent dazed and reeling by the beheaded caster's bodyguard. Rev breaks away, snatching up his fallen billhook. En route. Nice, nice. Backs up Rax. Oh gosh, Annie. I'm not sure there's anything we can really do to save you. One last defiant swing. A pattering of multi-headed flail beating against the Grand Diviner's skull. And he hesitates, glancing to one side. But then declines to make a break. The fate has finally come for the farmer's wife. They'll face it, unflinching. Zarmal, exhausted. A heave of his axe, a brutish beast, bisected. Rex bears down on another Fault Finder. Though again, I really should have moved away from the meat wagon. Right. And that's why. Though, honestly, not that bad. 31 damage on his 200 plus health armor. Good to finally know what the flesh cradles are for, though. I really did think they were for, like, reinforcements, but I guess the fight doesn't actually have any, because otherwise I feel like we really would have seen them by now. Second grader almost out. Oh. I mean... Alright, you know what? I'm not even going to double check that. And he vanishes beneath the beast's bulk before it rears back, roaring its displeasure. Its fleshy pseudopods steaming as acid eats away at its gelatinous flesh. Oh! The Grand Diviner falls as well, body perforated a dozen times over. But even as he falls, a fault finder burbles and bubbles, body abruptly bursting asunder even as Rax stares them down. And the Diviner rises once more. Though Rev does take this development in shocking stride, shearing the Diviner's helm asunder. Rax given slightly more pause. Battered by the massive mace before striking back in turn. The Diviner once again bloodied. But the Raider's eyes now set on that final fault finder. Less apprentice, it would seem, and more ritualistic redundancy. So honestly, at this point, given how easy this guy seems to go down once we really go after him, it might be better to just beat him down 2 more times. That would get the casters off the field. Rook takes one last parting jab at... Oh my goodness, okay, that's not great. Although Annie's demise may have been long preordained, the Raiders still struggle to grapple with their swift and brutal exit. Zarmal and Verlin both shaken to the core, badly beaten by the beast that so brutally buried their comrade. Rook will have to hang back, rally next round. Diego reluctantly releases his doggo, hoping to tie that last caster down. Random fells the flesh golem on south. Wait, why? Oh shit, that was raised terrain. Okay, Zarmal breaks. Zarmal breaks away, fleeing. Verlin suffering another staggering blow as he tries to do the same. And Battle Brother falls. Felled with brutal efficiency. Though buying the Raiders just enough time to put the Diviner on his last legs as well. Rax rushes in, ready to finish the job. Arrow starts moving to support. Beast on the north is almost felled, but it's slow going now. We've lost a lot of momentum. Rev moves to back Rax. Trip pauses, taking a potentially fateful moment to catch his breath. Gosh darn it. Okay. Rook's fatigue was just slightly too low to rally, so... Hey, you're alive. Congratulations. Oh, okay. Yes, we will absolutely take that. Get out of here. Both of you get clear. Now he's stuck just hurling corpses at us while we play keep away. Okay, Rev teeters, battered and bruised by a brute on the north. The second to last of the greater golems falters as well. And Cetra strikes the final blow. Another malignant mass excised from the mortal plane. Rax tears into the Grand Diviner once more, nearly cleaving the man in twain, though he still very much poses a threat. I think we can move near these now. They have no casters left, so in theory we should be fine. We have one net left on tap. Let's go ahead and lock down the other golem. Verlin and Zarmal are basically out of the fight at this point, but I'm fine with them just keeping clear. Oh. And with one last thunderous blast, Rev finally knows fear. The normally unflappable anatomist, stumbling, staggering, gasping as his helm is dashed away, leaving him vulnerable to the virulent vapors. Oh man, we're cutting this way too close. Piego's got a broken leg. Oh, Rev. Alright. Yeah, he is super dead. Revenant's billhook wavers, and that's all it takes. A single-minded simulacrum strangling him. Its strange pseudopods wrapped about his neck, squeezing so tight. His head bursts like an overripe melon. The body teeters, fountaining blood, finally falling to the ground. Rax winces, briefly wiping a hand across his blood-smeared mask, but then grimly turns back to the task at hand. I mean, look, it sucks to lose Rev, but that guy was always living on borrowed time. Him and Annie both. Random, Drak, Rassel. Jury's still out on Sigmar and Mal. You know, I start every episode expecting at least one of them to finally run out of luck. And this was that day, though at least it was legendary. One last swing, and the Grand Diviner finally falls, scattered across the ground in a myriad of pieces. With no fault finders left to find, the Raiders could but hope that this time it would actually take. Yeah, in retrospect, I'm definitely seeing better ways we could have potentially approached this, knowing what I know now about how this encounter works. Like, I mean, honestly, for one thing, I would have just hammered the Diviner way faster. Started killing him over and over again just to clear the fault finders. That really honestly seems like the best way to have done it, rather than trying to send a split-off detachment to kill them separately. Trip guts the last grizzly golem, and the Raiders set their weary sights on the one remaining wretch. Rook rushes in, pike at the ready. Diego coming in from the flank, shield held high, leg favored on one side, badly hobbled but just shy of broken. Arrow moves in behind, random beside. Ooh, goodness. The final net flies, the beast briefly bound down, though still able to land a crushing blow on Bowman as he strays too close. Right, gotta remember those straight line attacks. It's similar to the Schrott's root attacks. Not that we've actually fought them in this campaign, though it's only a matter of time. Berlin hangs back, catching his breath, stealing his nerve. Zarmal begins to stray back as well. Drakiith starts moving back, but stops just short. As does Zarmal, wary of the creature's wide, sweeping strikes. Rook jabs at its side, trying to keep it at least remotely still, as the rest of the raiders rally, or at least the one still left standing. The last of the abomination's armor clatters away, crushed by Cetrus's hammer strikes. An arrow sinks into its bulk, Bowman juking to one side to avoid a follow-up strike. Rax rushes in, but fails to find a decent opening. More spaces open on its sides. Random. Drac. Alright, just wail on it. Once we overwhelm it, should be fine. Diego stands strong. A half-dozen blows hammering into his shield, driving him back a half step, but no further. And thus begins the grand disassembly. Not so much wrath or vengeance, but simply something that must be done. The raiders grimly hacking and hewing away at the hulking mass, festooned as it is with silk reinforced rope. Its movements unnatural, but thankfully hampered. Should have left an opening for Rax, but honestly, probably just as well I didn't. He's actually in pretty bad shape. So we'll just make do with who we've got. And finally, the stadium falls silent. The raiders battered and bloody, but somehow still standing, but for a few. Revenant's body was a mess, of course, explosively decapitated, skull and bits of brain strewn across the sand. But Annie almost seemed peaceful in their repose. Someone opened their mouth to speak, but no words came out. A scattering of salutes, a few bowed heads. And then life went on. At least for those who still yet lived. Rest in peace, Annie. Rev, thanks for coming out. I mean, at the very least, I will say that despite the 3 losses, Annie, Rev, and of course, Battle Brother, we actually made it out pretty intact. And there's our prizes. Potion of Progress. This serum, extracted from the bone marrow of the so-called greater flesh golems, can fashion even the most infirm into the pinnacle of physical health. Behold the twisted vision of the Grand Diviner, untangled and made reality. 2 positive traits. Plus the Elixir of Enlightenment. They say the difference between poison and medicine is in the dosage, and perhaps nowhere is this more true than the unusual substance found in the Grand Diviner's censer, and more curiously, bloodstream. Whoever drinks this elixir brewed from that substance will surely gain his same otherworldly vision. My goodness, yeah, so that would immediately put a brand new recruit up to soft cap. Or more realistically beyond it, since of course most quality recruits are going to come in at above level 1. So that would theoretically instantly put them into legacy levels. Right, then we have all of Annie and Rev's gear. As well as the Cowl of Divination, the distinctive headdress worn by the Grand Diviner. The elaborate design limits the wearer's vision, but offers excellent protection. Does it? I feel like that's actually not that great, though, I mean, fashion-wise, it's pretty fantastic. No, huh. Oh, okay, wait, no, they'll probably give it to us as part of the story. The Diviner is found in the mire of his creatures, a wounded man strewn across the afterbirth of his own manifestations. His heavy helmet guards his neck, but you simply crouch down and lever the point of your sword under it, like lifting a bucket with a dagger. He coughs and says, "You can't truly kill me no more than you can kill Mother Nature." You nod and drive the steel through his chin until you hear its tip touch the top of his helm. Blood spews over the neck guard. Standing, you say, "I am Mother Nature." Berlandane laughs. A witty rejoinder, scapegrace. Somewhat nonsensical when one spares it a second thought, but you cut the anatomist off and tell him and the rest of the men to loot the place. Surely the Gothic estate has some valuables that will have made this venture worthwhile. As for the Diviner's curious staff, still yet swirling with a faint green glow, you have it taken to inventory. As you prepare to leave, a report comes in that a number of the flesh golems ran out of the Gothic estate and fled into the wild. Their progenitor is dead, but it seems you may still yet continue to find his creations. Oh, that's fun. So now that we've actually finished the legendary locations, I guess they just become standard wandering mobs. Yeah, that does make me slightly less hesitant to use those potions we pulled from them, since in theory they can now be effectively replaced. And then, of course, we also did pull the Censer of the Divine. As suspected, guaranteed as a story reward. Oh man, though it does make it even more of a shame that we lost Annie. But we do still have Random, so perhaps he'd like to give this thing a shot. It's also going to take a bit of work to get our guys back into fighting shape, though I think we've still got enough manpower to pretty handily take down a noble army. We've still got the big guns. The Censer of the Diviner. A heavy censer repurposed into a vicious flailhead on a long handle. You know not what incense the Grand Diviner used to fuel his mad visions, but it burns like poison, and the weapon produces it from some unknown, inexorable source. Decent damage. Plus 15 to hit head. Let's have a look at its attacks. Censer Strike. Strike a target with a weaponized censer and leave a harmful miasma in the attack's wake. Somewhat unpredictable, but able to strike at a distance of 2 tiles and over or around shield cover with a bit of luck and skill. 6 AP. Oh, okay, well that's... He got 2 swings per round, but apparently we can only do 1. Also, Castigate. Oh. A sweeping strike in a wide arc that hits 3 adjacent tiles in counterclockwise order over some distance, also leaving harmful miasma. Very fatiguing to use, but in theory, not much of a problem for someone like Random, who has fairly ample fatigue to go around. Oh wow, okay, so it's like the flail equivalent of a sword lance, but also ignores shields, and leaves a trail of miasma. Interesting. Definite bummer that we can't swing it twice per round, but I suppose I could see how that might be a bit broken. That said, definite great get, especially for someone like Random, who, as aforementioned, much like Annie and Rev, I've long had floating near the top of my death pool. His sub-20 defense is pretty rough for a frontliner. But with something like this, he can potentially hang back and still provide support from relative safety. Less certain about the Grand Diviner's helm, but I'll find something to do with it. I mean, I don't want to just leave it disused. It is a hard-won trophy after all. Hey, and look at that. We've actually got a halfway functional formation here. Granted, not stocked with our A-listers, but I think serviceable. At least enough to get us back down towards town. That said, we are running a bit long, and I'm slightly bummed out. You know, always a little bummed out when we lose a raider, let alone 2 or 3 if we're counting Battle Brother. And thus, I think it's time to start winding things down. But before we do, let's go ahead and set our sights back down towards Matterfest. That'll make a good place to resupply and lick our wounds. Assuming we can get there without a fight. Let's see here. The long walk back to Matterfest was uneventful, giving the raiders time to drown in their thoughts. There were no fanciful furnishings, no carefully carved coffins to cart their dead. Rather, Annie and Revenant, and the late Battle Brother, were instead simply bound in bloody burlap sacks, until some more suitable place could be found for their final rest. Their arrival back in Matterfest was met with little fanfare. They were relative unknowns here, and those carting their dead, mercenary or otherwise, were certainly no unfamiliar sight in these troubled times. The raiders beelined for the local tavern, a mug raised in the memory of the fallen. Though in truth, the raiders were hard-pressed to really parse their feelings about those they had lost. Annie had always been something of an enigma, a staunch ally on the battlefield, but one who had always kept their comrades at an arm's length, at a safe emotional distance. Whereas Revenant had been something else entirely. Cold and calculating, the oft unnerving and emotionless academic. Perhaps not even mourned by his academic associates, his corpse soon secreted away for some final peer review. Annie, however, was left to the raiders to handle, as was the unfortunate Battle Brother, both at the insistence of the company's nebulous captain. And thus the unfortunate widow found her final resting place, buried neath a stone cairn just outside the walls of Matterfest. The tale of their final stand propagated at local taverns, ever more exaggerated with each retelling. Spirits briefly lifted by the fancification of a fate her fellows might someday share. And then, their business here done, their dead interred, a final round poured. They soon returned to the road. They could rest when they were dead. But until then, a raider's work was never done. Oh, and special thanks to the raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Eerie V23, Revenant, Alois, Arrow Bowman, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Lady Shayna, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.